This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Wednesday, the 20th of September, 2023. It's National Pepperoni Pizza Day. Hope you get a chance to celebrate it. Also glad you could join us. Coming up, we're going to talk with Jeffery Price of Canadian National about rail safety during this Rail Safety Week. We'll also take a look at that pretty well cookie cutter Iowa weather forecast. But first, let's run down those markets. It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, we're at the end of another trading day, and we turn to Tyler Schau of agmarket.net. And Tyler, what did we see out of those grain markets today?
Well, we've seen kind of a pretty decent little reversal from the previous 2 days. Monday started out kind of ugly, corn and soybeans and wheat for that matter. And the last few days we've seen kind of some movement back. Yesterday we did get some news from CONAB, which would be like the Brazilian USDA, that their area of corn planted this year is smaller than they thought, and as a result, their production numbers come in quite a bit lower than where the USDA had them pegged. I think USDA in the latest WASDE report was like 129 million tons. And CONAB's about 10 million tons lower, 119. It's about 1 million hectares they cut off. So they kind of got the corn market's attention yesterday and just kind of building on it here today.
So as far as now, when we're getting obviously ramping up now, we're starting to see a few combines rolling, very few across Iowa. But now as that corn belt starts to factor in and we start to see what our bushels are, I mean, how do we think markets could react? I mean, what if things come in about where we expect or maybe better or worse?
That's been the big question really all along. All growing season was a talk of extreme variability, and the yield results that we're seeing. A lot of combines are running in Illinois and Indiana. You're starting to see some run on corn and beans here in North Dakota. I've heard a few reports out of Iowa. There's some harvest pressure that's going to come into this market, and I think that's what we've seen, and really I think that's what we were seeing on Monday was just more harvest pressure and no positive demand news or no positive news from that to really fire up the bull camp. And I think unless we continue to hear some stories that kind of help with the bullish side, that harvest pressure is going to weigh on the market and push things down. So we need to keep hearing stories like we did out of CONAB. The unfortunate scenario farmers find themselves in is they actually need low yields. Well, they need their neighbor to have low yields to push prices higher, but they need to have a big crop.
All right. Well, then moving over to the livestock side of things, we've been watching that carefully, obviously. Consumers watching those numbers and what they're paying at the grocery store, as well as what farmers are getting for their products. I mean, what are we seeing out of livestock today?
On the hog side, sometimes I skip over the hogs. On the hog side, we've seen some positive news. Demand has stayed strong. There's been concern both hogs and on live cattle that demand would waver. A lot of times you see some demand drop and some supply increase going into the fall, especially in the hog market. We haven't really seen that demand drop. Consumers are still buying pork and pork products. We're actually seeing the cutout slowly churn higher and the cash index push a little bit higher, which has been supportive to that hog market. The live cattle market, man, you just keep coming up and toying that April 24 contract just keeps trying to go over 200. A lot of people never thought their lifetime they'd see 200 fats, and maybe we never will, but it's been awfully close a few times now. And the thing I keep telling all of my customers with feeder cattle or with fat cattle, if you want to speculate in this market, my opinion is flip a coin. One day it's going to be up a couple bucks. The next day it's going to be down a couple bucks. Kind of what it seems like here lately. If you're a hedger, though, man, there's never been a better time to get hedged on feeder cattle or fat cattle.
All right. Well, if folks want to ask those questions and find out what situation may work for them, how do they get in touch with agmarket.net?
Check us out on the internet, agmarket.net. There's a contact page. We got brokerage offices all over the country. Find one close to you. Reach out to them. If you want to call me direct, the number 701-987-6009.
All right, Tyler, well, we thank you so much and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
You bet. Take care.
That again was Tyler Schau of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at the closing numbers coming to us courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. December corn was up 6 at 482 1/4. March up 6 1/4 at 496 3/4. November beans up 4 1/2 at 13.20 even. January up 4 1/2 at 13.36 1/4. Soy meal up $5.90 at 395.10. Soy oil down $1 at 59.29. Chicago wheat up 4 1/2 at 614 3/4. Minneapolis up 4 cents at 7.99 even. Kansas wheat down 1 3/4 at 7.34 1/2. Oats down 1/4 at 4.51 1/2. October live cattle $1.10 higher at 186.77. October feeders $1.22 higher at 260.57. Lean hogs up 92 cents at 85.77. Pork cutout 67 cents higher at 96.55. And Class 3 milk 40 cents lower at 17.14. And that's been our Ag Market Recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I talk with Jeffery Price of Canadian National Railroad. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Well, we know it's Farm Safety Week, and we have spent some time talking about that, but it is also Railroad Safety Week. And of course, with these railroads crossing rural America, we need to know how to be safe around them as well during harvest season. I had a chance to talk with Jeffery Price. He is a Canadian National Police Officer with the Canadian National Railroad. And we talk about farm safety and ag safety and train safety here during this important fall period. Talking right now with Jeffery Price of Canadian National. He's a member of their board and also one of their officers, I should say. And also he's one of their officers when it comes to security, one of the railroad police there with Canadian National. Jeffery, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about Farm Safety Week, which is this week, but it's also Rail Safety Week. And because we're so reliant on each other, it's kind of indicative that they both be together, kind of, and so we're talking about rail safety. And what's kind of the things that we need to be thinking about with rail safety, especially when it comes to agriculture?
Yeah, absolutely. So what a lot of people don't realize is every 3 hours in the U.S., there's a train versus either a vehicle, farm equipment, or a trespasser on the track. So our ultimate goal is to bring that number down to zero. So what we're really emphasizing is when it comes to incidents, we always want to let people know to always expect a train. At all times of the years, we have different dynamics that, can cause, a vehicle to either drive or slide into a train, depending on the weather, whether it's snow or fog conditions or whatever it may be. But especially when it comes to like farm equipment, and if you are anywhere near, if your fields are near a crossing, a lot of those crossings in rural areas typically are what we call passive crossings, where it's only a crossbuck. There's no lights, gates, bells. So there's much more information the driver must obtain when they're crossing over one of these. And the key thing with this is trains do not run on the schedule. Freight trains do not run on the schedule. So if you are out in your field, let's say at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning, and you see a train go by at 10 o'clock on a Monday, that does not mean that a week later, the next day at 10 a.m., you're going to see that same train. Trains run on varied schedules depending on what they're hauling or where they're going. So the main thing is, if you're out at a crossing that has no flashing light protection on it, you have to look both ways and always expect a train.
So let's start with the equipment like the tractors and the implements and the combines that we have to move around and may encounter these passive crossings or even a normal crossing. What are things that farmers need to be aware of and maybe need to be thinking about when they're approaching one of these or know that they have to cross one of these eventually?
Obviously, if you're on, let's say, a tractor and you're hauling different cars behind that or different trailers behind it, know the length of your vehicle, because if you see a train coming, first thing you should do is stop. And for the safest way, if you see a train coming, just stop and wait for the train to cross. But if you have a lengthy vehicle, you want to make sure you get across those tracks as soon as possible. The more traverse over a set of tracks, if you're not paying attention to maybe what gear you're in, or if you're focusing on things inside your unit, such as GPS or anything like that, you may not be aware of your surroundings. So if you approach a crossing, look both ways, make sure there's no train coming, and then proceed with caution. Especially if you, like I mentioned, if you have a larger unit, give yourself extra time to get across those crossings.
Now, should we be thinking about sometimes when we're hauling implements, especially like tillage equipment, where we have the teeth or whatever, for lack of better knowledge or terminology, I should say, or shanks that can drag down a little bit? What are some things that we should be thinking about so we don't become hung up in a situation like that?
Absolutely. So, just the width of the crossing. All road lengths vary a little bit depending on the location. What kind of road is it? A state road? Is it a county road? Is it a local road? Is it a private road? Know the length of your roads, and also know that if you are crossing over a set of tracks, and let's say your equipment gets stuck on the tracks where maybe the equipment is too wide for that crossing. What we want to let people know is, if that does happen where you get hung up at the crossing, every railroad crossing in the entire United States has what they call the blue emergency notification sign. It's a blue and white sign that should be right below the crossbucks at that crossing. And what we want to do is let people know that if your vehicle does become stuck in that crossing, the key thing is to contact the railroad and let them know that you are stuck. The key is we want to stop trains so we can get the proper assistance out there to make sure your vehicle is safe. And by calling that number on the blue sign, depending on what railroad it is, give them the DOT number that's on that sign, and usually within a short amount of time, the railroads can stop the trains, make sure your equipment is off the tracks, and safely to the destination. But if there's ever an issue, find that blue and white sign at the crossing and make sure you contact that railroad.
Now, another thing I know we deal with, and it's because of fall harvest, there's such a short timetable. People tend to get in a hurry, just like the cars around us get in a hurry when we're moving our equipment. Obviously, you've made that comment before that if you see a train, it's best to just wait it out, because one, it's kind of hard to judge at a distance how fast that train is going, if it's just getting going or if it's already got some speed behind it, because it takes, about a mile, if I'm not mistaken, for a train to slow down and come to a stop?
Exactly. It takes a mile or more for a train to come to a stop. And what we always say is a train can stop, it just cannot stop quickly. Essentially, you have the coefficient with friction. You have steel rails on steel wheels. So, that's why, and the amount of momentum behind a train it's pretty major. So, usually if the train is going track speed and the engineer or conductor sees something in front of the window, the only thing they can usually typically do is blow the horn, whistle, bell, and hope that whatever is in front of them moves out of the way, just because of the dynamics of a train. But you're absolutely right with the train speed. It's hard to judge the exact distance of a train and speed. Think of it as if you're near an airport and you see a plane flying overhead, in some cases those planes look like they're hovering over the sky, even though they're going 200, 300, 400 miles per hour, depending on what aircraft it is and how fast they're going. But just based on the linear perception of a train, it may look like it's a mile down the track, or it's pretty not close to where you're at, but before it can be right there on top of you. And one thing we always tell people is, if you're ever unsure if you see a train down the set of tracks, is it moving, is it stopped, we always what we call the triangle of illumination. If you see 3 white lights, which is the top light on the top, and then 2 ditch lights on the bottom that could be solid or flashing back and forth. If you see 3 main white headlights on a train, that train is moving, and it's probably moving faster than 20 miles per hour. So, if you see that, definitely wait for the train to pass.
Now, I know you said earlier that we want to see that number of accidents come down to 0. I mean, is there a trend going downward right now, or is it going upward, especially when we talk about Iowa and the Midwest?
Yeah, what we found is, like during COVID, not just in Iowa, but nationwide, we had a decrease in the amount of train versus vehicle incidents, because no one was really out and about driving. But we saw an uptick in the amount of train versus trespasser incidents where, a lot of people decide to go adventure and try new walking routes and explore places they've never been for. So we saw an uptick in that. Now things are starting to level out a bit. But it all depends on the year. It's there's some good times and some good times and not so good times, and so that's why we're just hoping with putting the reminder out there that trains can't stop quickly. If you're working, if you have a field that is paralleling a set of train tracks, if don't walk across the train tracks. It's not only dangerous, but in most of the U.S. it's illegal. You can actually get a fine and or go to jail for it. So if you need to get to the other side of a set of tracks, make sure you use the proper crossings and bridges and stuff, because if you're walking over a set of tracks where there's not a crossing, then you could actually get in trouble for railroad trespass.
And I was just going to ask that, some of us foamers like to go down there and look at the trains, and sometimes kids like to go see them too. Where is the area of buffer, basically? If you're seeing a train out there, the tracks out there in a rural area, and, obviously we can't put trespassing signs every 10 feet, what is the general rule of thumb for where you need to stay away from?
That's a great question. Usually, trains can overhang the tracks by 4 feet on both sides, and that allows, for larger vehicle, rail car equipment type to, traverse down the tracks. But the rule of thumb is, you want to stay 25 feet off from the center rail back. The golden rule with that is if you see ballast, which is the white rocks that are around, the railroad ties and the railroad tracks, if you're standing on those rocks, you're too close. And usually if you see, there may be no trespassing signs. If there's not, 25 feet out is the minimum standard typically out there to be, so you can still, there's a lot of people that love trains, love to see a lot of different unique types of, styles, but if you want to enjoy the adventure of watching trains, stay back at least 25 feet from the tracks and never stand in the center of the rail trying to grab a photo, because not only is it dangerous, but again, you're also trespassing as well.
All right. Well, Jeffrey, lots of information. If folks want to find out more about maybe some guidelines they need to think about or more information, where can they find that kind of information at?
Absolutely. There's 2 places you can go. You can go to OLI.org, which is Operation Lifesaver. It's a non-for-profit group that we partner with here in the U.S. To work on rail safety messaging. And then also with CN here, if you can go to cn.ca, there should be a link there to take you to our rail safety page, and it gives you different fun facts and many tips about how to be safer on the crossings and actually share the rail safety message with people in your community as well.
All right. Well, Jeffrey, we thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
That again was Jeffrey Price of Canadian National. Let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. Well, we've had a mix of clouds and sun today, a few sprinkles here and there, but definitely a welcomed rain yesterday, at least in Des Moines. We picked up anywhere between 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches. Even saw a little hail in Ankeny during the day yesterday, but it was not very damaging nor very long-lived. But let's go ahead and see what the National Weather Service has in store for us for the next 24 hours. Well, a little bit of a cookie cutter forecast here for you for the next couple of days. Variably cloudy skies today. Chances of some scattered showers and thunderstorms. We'll see a high in the upper 70s to the low 80s. Now tonight, partly cloudy skies across the state. Still some chances of some scattered showers and storms. Highs will be in the mid-50s to around 60. And then tomorrow, partly to mostly cloudy skies. Chances of some scattered showers and storms. Highs will be in the mid to upper 70s. Taking a look at the affiliate weather map for you, Cherokee tomorrow sunny and 78, Shenandoah partly sunny, chance of storms and 80, Des Moines sunny and 77, Waterloo partly sunny, chance of showers and 79, Albia chance of showers and 75, and Clinton showers possible and 78 degrees. For more detailed forecasts in your area, tune to your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been the Ag Weather Outlook, and with that, we're at the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified each time we put out a new video program. You can also check out our free market podcast delivered through Google, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, and Podbean. Also, don't forget about our long format programs, Iowa Ag Matters, heard daily, and also Weekend Ag Matters. For Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson, I'm Dustin Huffman here at the IARN Studios in Des Moines. We thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.